Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY at checkout.
How would you like to get in the best shape, the healthiest shape of your life for less than $5 a day? I'm Body CEO Carl Deichler. That's Body with an I. And I've got your healthy bundle with a world-class workout, healthy eating plan, plus the healthiest and most delicious nutrition shake that will make you feel amazing and really improve your digestion, if you know what I mean. All for less than $5 a day. This is your healthy bundle, your workout, your easy eating plan, and a delicious nutrition shake called Shakeology. And if you don't lose up to 10 to 15 pounds in your first 3 weeks, I'll give you your money back. Imagine a trainer and dietitian giving you all this for less than $5 a day, plus a healthy superfood shake that curbs cravings, helps you lose weight, and gives you healthy energy. It's unprecedented, and it's your healthy bundle. So write down this web address. Go to yourhealthybundle.com. That's yourhealthybundle.com, and see how healthy and fit you can get for less than $5 a day.
February is the month of love, and we all deserve a little something special. Dime Beauty is having their annual Valentine's sale right now, where you can get 25% off everything with code VALENTINE. It's the perfect excuse to refresh your beauty routine or pick out a thoughtful gift. At Dime, clean is more than a standard. It's their promise. Dedicated to skin-conscious ingredients, they focus on creating beauty, skincare, body care, and fragrances that are safe, gentle, and free from harsh chemicals. With Dime, you can trust what you're putting on your skin every single day. If you're looking for the perfect nighttime anti-aging cream, their TBT cream is a must-try. It's packed with clean, age-defying ingredients that nourish and hydrate your skin while you sleep. But don't just take my word for it. Over 3,000 five-star reviews speak for themselves. Whether it's skincare, fragrance, or a little bit of both, Dime has something for everyone. Visit DimeBeautyCO.com and use code VALENTINE for 25% off right now during their Valentine's Day sale. Grab your favorites before it's over. DimeBeautyCO.com.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Jason, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Logan, Libby, Aaron, Kristen, Tia, and Jonathan. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group, where we'll be hanging out and comparing this film to other films daily. Paige, maybe it's because we did Honey last night, the movie Honey last night for Romance in the Pod. But I really feel like John Abrahams was trying to tell us something about P. Diddy around this time in our lives, and we just weren't listening.
Yeah, no, agreed. I had the same notes in I was like 2 days in a row. Is it just because we see the truth now and we're seeing it everywhere like the Da Vinci Code? I'm
just saying Bobby from this movie was the prophet we all ignored about P. Diddy in the early 2000s, Paige.
Hundo. Well, I'm going to say, because this was written by the Wayans brothers, the Wayans brothers were trying to warn us about P. Diddy.
No, absolutely. And I think it's funny that Honey used this character in the same way, to point out what P. Diddy was doing. Yeah, crazy. Anyway.
Yes. Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, and sometimes you guys make me watch them. But this week, Paige allowed us to watch Scary Movie. So, Paige, I thought I had seen this movie all the way through.
Had you not?
I had not. I had only seen, scenes from it or clips from it. I think it was just, on in my friend's basement.
Sure.
And I would watch some of it and, in between doing other things, right?
Yes.
So, I definitely remembered the Carmen Electra, Drew Barrymore opening.
Absolutely.
I definitely remembered Anna Faris being plastered to the ceiling. But that was pretty much it.
Sure.
When was the first time you watched this movie?
Oh, I had not seen this in a good 20 years, which is probably why I did not remember the huge sections of it that do not hold up.
Oh, yeah,
That
Paige.
don't hold up. And
Oh.
Let me get out in front of it right now. There are huge sections of this movie that joke about people's sexual orientation, their gender identity, their bodies, their potential intellectual disabilities, all of it. It's all of the worst parts of the 90s,
Yes.
early 2000s, back when everyone thought it was okay to say those things. It wasn't. It's not now. And the thing that frustrates me about it is that, like, there's so much in this movie that's more subtle that is way funnier than all of that still works. But instead, some of the biggest moments are around some of those really harsh it doesn't ring funny at all anymore. Like, there are huge sections of them. There's a whole sequence of scenes that I'm like, you could cut this whole thing and we miss nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
But also, it would be under 90 minutes or whatever. Like,
yeah, I think it's like 94-ish minutes. Like, it's not a super long movie.
Right. But my biggest frustration, though, is there is so much that still works. There's a reason there's so many sequels to this. When they stick to making fun of movies as opposed to people, when they're punching.
Yeah, when they're punching up and not down.
Yeah. There are some fucking hilarious beats in this movie that still hold up.
Yeah.
That are still funny. And so I am torn. I can't fully advocate for this because I know that if some of you watch it, it will hurt your feelings, and rightfully so.
It's really just like the Mrs. Man stuff, and there's a few more things, but like the Mrs. Man stuff is so socially unaware for today's time and so toxic and bad.
Yeah.
And there is other stuff, but that shit stood out to me so much as like, damn it, we're gonna have to talk about this?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Like,
I know.
When it happened, I was like, fuck, Paige, come on.
I know. And here's the thing, and again, I did not remember it. It had been 20 fucking years or more.
Paige, I fully had thought I had seen this whole movie, and I didn't remember. I remembered 2 scenes.
Sure.
Carmen Electra's scene and Anna Faris's sex scene. So you could see where I was in high school when I saw this.
Yes.
As far as what I was into, apparently. Anyway, Paige, I'm going to piss off a lot of people with my take.
Yeah.
All of the things you said were true.
Yes.
The ending in this is a better reveal than the ending in Scream. And
I agree with you 100%.
I love the Kaiser Sose like reveal of it all. I was like, holy shit, that's so funny. And it's like, honestly, so great. Because that character would be allowed to get away with so much more because you do sort of take care of people like that, you know?
Right.
If they make mistakes, you're more forgiving. And like, so they could sort of get access to places and sneak around or whatever. Like, I sort of loved that reveal. It was awesome.
Not only do I kind of love the ending more, the ending invalidates some of their worst jokes. The jokes weren't accurate, which in turn kind of made them a little funny in some cases, where you're like, okay, so if this person is not actually this, then it's kind of funny that everyone made jokes and then they got the better of them, right?
That's certainly the case with the doofus character.
Right.
That dude owns and runs a porcelain company that makes mugs. And then he I don't know his motivation here, but I love what he did.
Wild. But it's still, for the bulk of the movie you sat through, you're like, oh
yeah. I mean, everyone is shitting on him the whole movie. Yeah.
Well, and this is going to sound terrible. Sean Wayans' character, Ray, the entire movie, the whole joke is that he's gay. That is the only joke the entire time. Most of the time, it does not play. And even, like, not even 2025 eyes, like, back in the day, I'm like, there are better jokes in this movie and they are not this.
Yeah.
But then at the end, to have him be like, I'm not gay, I just like shopping. Like, why would you assume that about I was dying?
Well,
I was like, okay.
And then when his friend was like, but you like, let me suck you. And he's like, yeah, you sucked.
He's like, well, you sucked my dick. I was like,
yeah.
like, that's actually, I was like, okay, this one section kind of works. That's kind of funny.
But he does get mind fucked in the movie, and I don't understand how that didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. I have no idea. But there are also the scenes where they're like getting him high in the fish tank. And that all still works for me.
You mean getting the killer high?
Yes.
When his face, like the mask becomes like such a small little face. Oh, it's so funny.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So Can I tell you the things that made me laugh the hardest in this?
Please, Paige.
I know we'll get to them as we go through the script, but there's a scene where they cut to Doofy and he turns really quick. And as he turns, his head reveals, because he's like turned out of the way of what he was looking at, that he's hanging flyers to catch the killer.
Yeah.
And that drawing
is so funny. I know.
I rewound it like 3 times. It was one of those things where I was like, I had forgotten about Doofy, and I was like, I know they're trying to do Dewey. It's a whole Scream thing, but I was like, I'm kind of disappointed that this is how they chose to do it. But when they revealed that poster, I was just like, like,
yeah. But looking back on it, knowing the turn at the very end of this movie,
so much funnier.
You're just like watching this genius manipulate everybody around them like he's Edward Norton in a weird heist movie.
I think I love it because it's like, it definitely looks like a kid drew it, but it's also too good to look like a kid drew it.
It's like you gave like a great artist kid a ballpoint pen and had them like color in a section, you know? So it's like, it's like wiry coloring in section. Oh, it's so funny, man. It's such a great little gag.
Oh, but that and during the beauty contest where they're throwing flowers and then one lady throws a vase of flowers and the vase catches her in the head. That's as funny to me as the football out the window in
Brienne.
Yes, in Waterboy.
Yeah.
Waterboy. It was that same vibes.
Paige, just to let you know what kind of kid I was, that the reason I know exactly what that sounded like was because I wore out the tape of Waterboy, rewinding and replaying that section over and over because it made me laugh so hard. I don't know why, but it was so fucking funny.
Oh, God. But like, I had the same feelings about that section.
I really do think a lot of the subtle comedy in this movie is so much better than like the comedy they're yelling at you.
Yes.
Like there's like when they're at the fountain, the whole time they're having that fountain conversation.
Yes.
And there's like a 20-minute cutaway for the I know what you did last summer stuff.
There's an hour-long cutaway. Like,
I know.
And Regina Hall just disappears for like 30 minutes in this movie. Like,
but yeah, Paige, but like that whole time you're at the fountain, Shannon Elizabeth or Buffy is like trying to open like this candy bar the entire time. And she cannot open it. It's so stupid but funny. Like it made me laugh every time it like cut away to her because she's just like listening and like nodding her head along, like trying to struggle with this like Snickers wrapper. It's so stupid.
Oh, man.
And there's so much of that shit like in the side of the camera frame, you know, like it's not what you're looking at, but it's right there on the side. And if you pay attention, it's like when Carmen Electra is like coming back in the house and she looks at the end table to look for like weapons and it's got a banana, a hand grenade, 2 knives and a gun and she grabs the banana. Like that shit is so funny. Or when Shannon Elizabeth dies. This is probably my favorite example of this now that I'm thinking about it. When she dies. I'm
like dead now.
Yeah, she's like over the top acting it like very like sarcastically or whatever. And the whole time in the room they're in on either side, they have like the painted on the wall.
B.A. Corpse High?
Yeah, of the school, the name of the school. And it's B.A. Corpse High School. Like, this shit was so funny. Like, I don't know. I really enjoyed like that stuff while Shannon Elizabeth is like way overacting. And I honestly did find that pretty funny too.
Very, very
But it's
funny.
like way over the top. And then there's really subtle stuff too that's funny. And I love that the Wayans brothers do that in their movies.
Yes. And all of the subtle stuff, incredible.
Yeah.
When they're focusing on truly making fun of a movie, incredible. And then even some of the stuff that they do as like a one-off physical gag, hilarious. It's just the stuff that I would say at the time this movie was made, everyone thought was funny and okay to make fun of. And now 20 plus years later, we're like, yeah, no, no, thanks. Yikes. There's stuff like when Marissa Jarrett Winokur in her 15-second scene goes to the garage to get more beer.
Yeah.
And all the 40s say like, Beelzebub ale, Satan drinks.
Yeah.
Like, just very much a very subtle nod to like, if you drink, they'll kill you. Like, it was so fun. Like, that's what's so frustrating is like, I hate all of the other really, really punching down that this movie does.
Yeah.
But hidden within that are such hilarious jokes. hilarious bits.
Yeah.
And like, I wish that was the movie, but we will have to go through and talk about the movie as a whole.
Yeah, and just know that when we're talking about the punching down scenes, like that does suck. We don't like that, or I didn't like that. I'm sure you didn't either, Paige. But like, we're just going to power through those scenes, you know?
Yes.
But yeah, anyway, my take is it's a very dated movie, but it has a better ending than the movie it's making fun of the most.
When, you know what? I'll table it. But when they get to the end and they reveal the two killers and they're like, look, did the end of Scream make fucking sense? No. And I was like, vindicated.
Wait, do you think Sherry O'Terry was in on it?
Oh, I would love for that to, maybe.
I think maybe by the end of the movie she was.
By the end of the movie she was. Because this ends basically like Natural Born Killers.
Yeah, if Natural Born Killers and Kaiser Soze were the same movie, yeah.
Yeah, Usual Suspects, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. I guess Kaiser Soze is from the Usual Suspects. My bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I do tend to worry a little bit about these kind of episodes.
Yeah.
Because some of them are like, man, that was a really funny part.
Yeah.
And then we just move on because like it's a very funny movie in sections.
Well, I think the thing that we'll end up getting to talk about a lot in this episode, heads up, if you're listening, this is probably what's going to happen. Much like when we did Honey yesterday, this movie is a time capsule.
Yes.
And there's so many things in this movie that I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. But that was so huge. Like, that was such a big deal at the time. And it's wild that they're making fun of it, thinking that people would remember and that this would endure.
Oh, yeah.
And instead, this just becomes like really a snapshot of what that year was like.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should just go through this movie scene by scene, Paige.
We open on the part of this movie that everyone remembers where Carmen Electra basically does the Drew Barrymore sequence from Scream. Now, Carmen Electra is very self-aware, and that's what makes these scenes great. She knows who she is. She's in on the joke.
She knows what she's doing. She knows why she's there.
She knows what she's doing and why she's there. It plays a lot better than some of the other punching down because she is involved.
And she's in on the joke.
Yeah.
It does very much feel like to me as the audience, right, that she is there and having fun with the comedic premise that she's a part of, right?
Right. And this like segment of the movie, I think, is the perfect ratio of spoof to real movie. It is incredibly funny.
Yes.
She is answering the phone. What's your favorite scary movie? I love that she says Kazam starring Shaq, because this is before everyone thought it was Shazam with Sinbad, because we all remember things wrong sometimes.
Yep.
But I also love it was Kazam with Shaq, and she's like, have you seen Shaq act?
Yeah.
And I was like, taking shots early, but all right.
I know.
But they're like, who am I looking at? And she's like, oh my God. And he's like, nice press. And she's like, oh my God. He's like, I want to see everything inside you. Like as if he's going to rip her apart. And she just goes, go to page 54. And he just goes, oh, nice.
Because he's looking through, I guess that was her Playboy. Was that her? Did she pose for Playboy?
She posed for Playboy a bunch. Playboy didn't usually, like, by the everything inside you, they're implying that it's full frontal, and Playboy was usually a little more subtle about that kind of shit, so I don't know.
Fair enough.
That was more of a hustler thing.
Oh, okay. Come on, Larry Flint. Show us the goods, apparently.
I am weirdly fascinated by magazines that showed nudity that started in the mid-century era. They have fascinating and also horrifyingly abusive stories in some cases.
Paige, you should watch the show Minx.
I did. It's fantastic. I love it so much.
Yeah, same.
Love it so much. But it was like a point of contention between Hugh Hefner and Bob Guccione of Hustler. Or no, I'm sorry, Larry Flint of Hustler.
Yeah.
What they would show. Anyway, but he's like getting popcorn and watching it. And he's like, well, yeah, I've got your boyfriend. And he describes who, if you were alive at the time, you remember that during this era, Carmen Electra was dating Dennis Rodman. And so he describes him as like tall, wears women's clothing, earrings, plays basketball. And then she opens the back door and it's instead an actor portraying Prince.
Right.
Which, if you are too young to know this, she also, and she says, oh, we fucked a couple times. We didn't date. There was always debate, but she was one of Prince's muses for a while. And the basketball part is to throw people off, because if you were around at this time, you might know that there are some behind the scenes stories of Prince at like 4'11", just absolutely wrecking fools in basketball in high heels. Like he would destroy people, and he would invite people over to his house and be like, let's play a pickup game, and then just demolish them at basketball.
Dave Chappelle famously had one on Chappelle's show. Like, they talked about it on Chappelle's show. Yeah.
Well, and it's because Charlie Murphy, R.I.P., was on Chappelle's show and got his ass handed to him by Prince and Shalimar, I believe, in the story. But that's a cultural touchstone that we, at the time this movie came out, all knew about because of Chappelle's show.
Yeah.
That if you're watching this modern day and you were not alive then, you might not know. That might be completely over your head, but that is a hilarious reversal of the joke.
Also, Paige, how dare you say Prince was 4'11" when you know that Amazon was 5'2" at best?
Yeah, he was definitely 5'2" at best.
Yeah.
I, having been to his house, toured it, and seen a lot of his costumes on museum display, I am 5'2". I don't know that he was as tall as me. I'm not sure.
Well, Paige, you were only saying that because when you toured his house, you had a duck under the door frames.
Yeah, that's right.
I loved Prince, though, man. Like, I grew up on Prince. And
genius.
Yeah, that dude was insane in a creative way that I was into.
Yeah, I would call him, much like David Bowie, a brilliant weirdo. And David Lynch, and I say that as so lovingly. I mean that as a compliment. A brilliant weirdo, and we need more brilliant weirdos in the world.
I agree. My favorite interview that Prince ever did was when he said that Dirty Nicky was his most religious song ever, and the interviewer was like, well, would you go on about that? And he was like, no.
No.
I miss you, David. I'm going to miss you, man.
Oh, I miss David Lynch so much.
I know. Does like doing parodies of like memes work on podcasts? I don't know.
No, it doesn't. I understood your parody meme.
If you got that joke, press 1. Sorry.
Press 1. Anyway, so she then hears the doorbell. Carmen Electra does.
Yes.
Here's the doorbell. Goes to the door with the bat and just swings wildly. And this cracked me because she's like, beats the shit out of whoever's at the door. And then we reverse, and it's just a bunch of kid trick-or-treaters who are like, oh no.
Paige, one of them is at least paralyzed.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I can't feel my legs. And the other one's like, I broke my arm. Like, she beat the shit out of these children. The other one's just asking for mommy.
So good.
I laughed out loud, Paige. I thought it was so funny. I was like, damn. This is what happens when trick-or-treaters go by Mikey's place.
But this is, again, one of those examples of like, when it's subtle and when it sticks to the movie, it is hilarious. That is a hilarious turnaround.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
It's great.
Anyway, she's like, ooh, oops. But this is where she turns around and she has the table full of weapons.
I pointed this out earlier. This is that banana, grenade, 2 knives, and a handgun thing. Yeah.
Right. Grabs the banana, takes off running the same way Drew Barrymore does. And she trips like Drew Barrymore does. But as she gets up, there's a chalk outline of where she tripped. And I was like, that's hysterical. That's great. Because it's basically like, you dead.
Yeah.
She's like pulling her clothes off and running through the sprinklers. Because you might, if you're too young, you might not remember. She used to be on Baywatch, and she was like coming to the end of her Baywatch tenure at this time.
Yeah.
And so she does the Baywatch run through the sprinklers.
And if you watch, when it cuts to her about to run through the sprinklers, she is like running in place, and then the sprinklers turn on, and she then starts running. And it's so funny to me that she is clearly just waiting for them to turn on when that scene begins, and you just see it. It's so funny.
Here's the thing. I debated, because it's funny both ways.
Yes, it is.
It's funny if you think that they hadn't timed it right, but then also didn't cut the edit tight enough. It's extra funny to me if the character is running and waiting and it's on purpose, and I think it's on purpose. Yes.
I think the Wayans brothers did it on purpose because it is.
I think so too.
It is funny. And especially like they do a lot of fourth wall sort of breaking jokes.
Yes.
In fact, they're about to do one with James Vanderbeek in a later scene, right?
Oh my God, yes.
Where he'll look right to the camera, or they'll acknowledge that they're in a movie. Like, and they show like the script supervisor, the director, the cinematographer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I think this is one of the jokes that the Wayans brothers are throwing in to be like, making a movie is silly sometimes, guys.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And I loved it. I thought it was great.
It's great. But so she goes through the sprinklers. The killer stabs her and gets one of her implants.
So funny. I lost my mind. I mean, yeah, it was great. I remembered this part from when I was a kid because,
everyone did.
She ran through a sprinkler.
Yeah, and then got hit by a car.
It was her dad driving.
And her mom.
Oh my God, Paige.
They were on a parent date. Good for them.
Yes.
But they hit her with a car. She goes flying. We hit the title card. Scary movie.
Yeah.
Perfect cold open. Chef's kiss. If the whole rest of the movie was like that, perfect movie.
Yeah, honestly, no notes for the cold open. I thought it was great. Other than like very funny bits that I wanted to talk about, but like nothing like critically at all. I was like, fucking nailed it, guys. Let's go.
So we cut to Anna Faris. This is one of her first movies ever.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend Robbie climbs in through the window. Her dad hears. And this exchange between her and her dad and the weird subplot about her dad, also one of my favorite parts of the movie.
It is great.
Because it's an insane addition that is just funny for being factual and not necessarily for punching down. But her dad's like, "Hi, honey, I have to leave for a couple days." And she's like, "Right, for the Escobar case." Basically implying that her dad is a member of Pablo Escobar's cartel.
Yeah, he's on like they're on the shipping end and he's on the receiving end of the empire,
Right.
I don't think he's like super high up in the org or nothing, but like
no.
He's definitely like a local distributor of Escobar products.
Right, but he's got to go for team building or something.
I love it. He was like, I honestly think he was going to just participate in breaking someone else's legs and stuff. Like, he does not seem at all concerned. When we see him later in the movie, he's fine.
Yes.
So, like, I think he, like, does look at them going and, like, murdering people within the organization who are stealing from the organization as team building.
Yes.
And that is a very funny premise to me.
Oh, so funny.
I thought he was well written from a comedic perspective, but also it was delivered so perfectly. Like, I don't know this guy has been in tons of stuff, but I thought he was great in this.
He's so funny in this. And he's like, remember, like, there's stuff here if you want it, but make sure it's got to be cut. You got to cut it with baking soda, not baking powder. You don't want people baking muffins out of their nose. Okay, well, like, have fun. And he, like, leaves. She gets back to her boyfriend, who his entire arc for the entire movie is he's trying to pressure her to have sex with him.
Yeah.
The implication is that she has done things with everyone but him, but it is kind of slut shamey and not great. He is pressuring her a lot. I don't love it.
Yeah, I mean, but it is very much like high school boyfriend expecting to be having sex by now because they've been dating probably a week.
Right.
And she's not ready. That's like the vibe, right?
Yeah.
But she also is saying, like, I think he mentions The Exorcist in this scene, and she's like, something about like her. This is about the time I threw up green slime and masturbated with a crucifix. It was my first keg party. Let's drop it. I don't know that she's like slept around with like the high school, but she has done things performatively in public.
As the movie goes on, we will find out that because Shannon Elizabeth's character is like, oh yeah, we'll never talk about it again. Like that time we both got drunk and went down on each other. Like everybody has a story of like,
that is true.
That time and it's something else. But at this point, James Vanderbeek goes to climb into the window and just goes, oh, I'm sorry, wrong set. And that's it. That's all he says. And then climbs back out of the window, and we get the Dawson's Creek theme song as they're making out. Hysterical.
I know.
Hysterical.
He like looks directly into the camera and it's just like, oh, wrong set.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
I don't want to wait
for lives to be over. Come on, Paula Cole.
I can't sing anything right now, but
I got the high notes. It's fine.
Thank you. He goes down to attempt to finger her and gets shocked because she has a full-on electric fence over her underwear. Hysterical. Love that.
I remember this bit also being in Robin Hood Men in Tights, right? Because like they're trying to get the key.
So she's got the chastity belt.
Yeah. So it's like a similar thing, but they actually dropped this like immediately.
But she just goes, how about it's PG-13? Would you settle for like some PG-13 stuff? And it looks like she's going to flash.
Oh, she does, Paige. I'm choosing to believe that this is what Anna Faris looks like because the edit was so clean. It was like you can't tell it's not her. Sorry, I'm making a joke because it's very clearly not her. It's like an 80-year-old man's chest.
Yes, with like gray hair.
Yeah.
So good.
It made me laugh. I was like, oh shit, I was not expecting that. That's funny.
I love that. That was so fun. We cut to everyone arriving at school the next day. And the first people we meet are Shorty, who's Marlon Wayans, and Regina Hall, who's Brenda, getting off the bus for school. And we will find out they are siblings. Because at one point, Shorty is like, ha ha ha, your mother. And Regina's like, that's also your mom. Like, we are siblings. That is your mom too. And he's just like, oh, no.
And he's like, well, your father then. And she's like, well, I don't know my father. And he's like, oh, yeah, I don't know my father either.
I don't know him.
Which I think, I got the impression that they may have had different dads, but it's the same mother.
That was my impression too, yeah.
Because I think he says, I may be wrong, pretty sure he says, I don't know my father either.
Yes. And here's the thing. The only reason I will laugh at this as a joke is because it's the way in saying it.
That's exactly how I feel, because I would feel weird about making that joke, right?
Right. You shouldn't make that joke. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's a layered joke that I can't say.
That's right.
Yeah. But I do love when, like, a comic, I feel like James Acaster does this a lot right now with his comedy. He'll, like, land at a punchline, and you're like, oh, shit, that's a good punchline. And then he's got one or two more waiting for you. Mm-hmm. And that is sort of what this scene does through the dialogue. Because it's your mother. No, well, your father. Oh, you have different fathers. Okay.
But neither of us know them.
Yeah, exactly. It's a joke that neither I nor Paige, or I guess James Acaster, could make.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But as they all kind of group up at that fountain, Brenda, aka Regina Hall, meets up with Anna Faris's character. They're best friends. And they're about to greet Buffy, played by Shannon Elizabeth, but she is saying goodbye to her dad or whoever is dropping her off.
Yeah, she does call him dad. She calls him dad. But he does hand her cash. I don't know. But I mean, that's not necessarily a weird thing for a dad to do for a daughter who's dropping off at school. And it does look like, because she's dressed way more conservatively than she is the rest of it. And as they sort of walk together, because they meet up in the parking lot and then walk to the fountain. And so this is where they meet up in the parking lot. And she's like, is he gone? Right. And then they're like, yeah, he's gone. And then she like takes off the outer dress, revealing, honestly, it's not like over the top.
It's not that much different, but yeah.
But, you know, she looks great or whatever.
For the year 2000, it would have been considered slutty.
Yes.
Because it was a weird time.
A little racy, right? A little like, oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Shannon Elizabeth in 2000. So this is like American Pie time that like really, I think, put her on that, like, she's just a really hot actress we can have nude in movie lane. Right. This is a weird take. I think this may be the best movie I've seen her in because it like asks her to be funny and she is able to nail it.
Oh, she is funny, yes.
I think she crushes being funny. And I think that's one of the harder things to do for a lot of people. And she's just probably naturally funny. But I liked her in this movie. I thought she was great.
Yeah, she's great. Well, what I liked, and this is where the P. Diddy conspiracy comes in.
Yes.
Because before she walks over to meet them, Regina Hall is like, I hate her. She's so fake. She's always got them like older boyfriends at that creepy parties where everyone's getting all freaky.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, so-and-so. And she's like, no, Puff Daddy. And I was like, they were warning us.
That was when I wrote it down.
They were warning us.
I was like, dude, the Wayans brothers and John Abrams was like, guys, everyone, we got to tell everyone through our movies.
We gotta.
I want to point this out before they get to the fountain as they're walking through the parking lot.
Yes.
In the parking lot, this is one of those subtle jokes that I thought was hilarious. There's just like a van on the back that says coroner van.
Yes.
Nobody mentions it. It's just there in the background. The coroner is already at the school.
Yes.
I thought this shit was so funny.
No one's been killed at school, by the way.
I know. The only person that's died was Carmen Electra, who died at Drew Barrymore's parents' house or whatever, you know? Yeah.
But I also love that, like, Shannon Elizabeth catches up with them and she's putting on makeup and they're like, oh, you can't use that makeup. They do animal testing. And she pulls out a flyer. And I don't care how many times people make this joke. I also avoid things that use animal testing. But boy, does it make me laugh every time I picture someone testing makeup just by putting it on an animal.
Well, Paige, that's how they test it. I think the joke is actually that they're not testing it to see if it'll like hurt people's skin.
Right.
They're testing it to see if like even a monkey can apply this. Like it's that kind of test. It's not a will this damage them test.
Right.
Which to me is a funny joke because it's not about like, you know, we should definitely animal test. Like it's fine. Like that's not the joke, right? The joke is if you're testing it to see if like, okay, can ladies even apply this makeup? Like, okay, let's just see if a monkey can do it. Like, that is the joke, more or less. And it made me laugh. I did think it was funny.
Well, yeah, because it is a monkey.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and it's because actual animal testing is very cruel, and it is not just putting makeup on. It's like testing the chemicals.
Exactly.
But when you hear them testing makeup on animals, your first picture is someone being like, all right, Fluffy, how do you like this eyeshadow? Like, and just doing like a Mary Kay Kit makeover.
First off, Paige, when I think of animal testing, never once thought there was a psychologist in there interviewing Fluffy for their opinion. Fluffy can't talk. I do think it's bad.
No, not a psychologist. Like an esthetician being like, the cool colors really bring out your eyes.
Paige, I fully want just like a cutaway to a makeup testing facility, and it is just a bunch of like monkeys and chimpanzees at like a MAC counter in a department store, and they're just like putting like lipstick on these like monkeys at a MAC counter, like a MAC part of the store.
Like
Hilarious.
at the mall?
Yes, at the mall, like literally at the mall.
I love every second of that.
Just like getting a makeover. Like, I thought that would be so funny.
Yeah. I do think it's really interesting that your default goes to monkeys, and I know that is often what it is. Mine goes to tiny puffy dog. Like, I'm picturing them putting it on tiny puffy dog.
That would be adorable, though. I mean, I'm here for that. Yeah. I only chose monkey because lips, and I'm thinking lipstick. Like, I don't know why. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. But I've seen some dogs with some great lashes. Yeah. So, like, maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. It's usually rabbits, but, like, still. Like, that's the reality. I only know because, like, one of the companies I buy from most often is very staunch about not testing on animals, and the logo is a rabbit. It's because it's usually rabbits.
Can I tell you a joke I once heard from somebody?
Sure.
This is actually somebody's dad, and I was in town for their wedding. And it was the first time I had met their dad, who I went on to like a lot.
Sure.
Because the first time I met him, I was like, oh, so what do you do? And he was like, I jerk off rabbits for a living.
Oh, God.
So I immediately leaned way in, right?
Yeah, sure. Tell me everything.
Because you don't start a conversation at a rehearsal dinner this way normally.
Right.
So we then had a 15-minute conversation about what fertility scientists do day to day.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And I was shocked. And when we were talking about it, he made the joke, it's the only kind of animal testing I think they enjoy.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
This man was just a nerdy fertility scientist, and the dude had written 15 to 20 solid minutes that were hilarious about his job, Paige. I still talk to this man. He's hilarious.
That's so funny. I always picture a Bichon Frise.
Yep, that's fair.
Like specifically.
Yep.
Or a Pomeranian.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there quietly while someone like applies blush. I know that's not what happens. That's why I support companies that don't do it.
Guys, we are famously against animal testing, but as a comedic premise, there's some pay dirt there. Like,
there's some pay dirt there.
Yeah, as long as like PETA's on set making sure we're doing it ethically, you can laugh.
But sure.
Yeah.
Maybe not PETA because they kill more animals than like most people on Earth, but sure.
Well, sorry, the prevention of cruelty to animals is what that's what I meant to say, because that's the association that you actually like they work with sets, right? Or they work with movie productions, right?
Yes. And it's usually the ASPCA.
PETA is like their more militant counterpart.
They're not related at all.
I know, but they're trying to achieve the same goals, I guess, through very different means.
But yeah, people for the ethical treatment of animals. No, that is PETA. It's ASPCA.
It's ASPCA. Thank you. Yeah. I just keep forgetting the acronym.
Yeah. Anyway, so they get to school. They were warning us about Puff Daddy. The monkey has the makeup on. But I love that Shannon Elizabeth is like, I care more about helping my fellow man than helping animals. Shouldn't we help humans first? And then a man experiencing homelessness is like, hi, can I have $1? And she just goes like, gross, bitch. I was like,
I think she even says, get away from me, you bum.
Get away from me, which straddles the line because at first, blush, you might think this is punching down. This is actually a joke about Shannon Elizabeth being a bad person.
Yeah.
And still works for me.
Oh, I think that there are a lot of people who will say, shouldn't we help ourselves before we help other people? And then aggressively vote or just not, when given the opportunity, help somebody. They'll vote to take away people's rights or whatever, or even like funding of programs or people who will then defund programs. that are in the social safety net. And also, when they see a homeless person on the side of the road asking for money, they'll be like, gross, get away from me, hobo, like Shannon Elizabeth does right here.
Yeah, that's exactly what she did.
I thought that this was both funny and great social commentary, Wayans Brothers.
Oh, yeah. But then they run into Sherry O'Terry playing the Gale character, who I think is still named Gale. Yeah, Gale Hailstrom is what her character name is. And she's like, 2 teens are dead. And I was like, who's the other teen?
2 teens, both alike in dignity. I don't know.
In deadness.
Dignity. I honestly don't know. I don't know, Paige.
I don't know. Who knows? But like, I could have also written it down wrong. That's possible too. But my favorite is we go through all the other news outlets.
Oh yeah.
And we get to Black TV and they're like, white people getting killed. We're
get the fuck out of here. It is very funny because like there is a bias within police systems. Typically.
They comment on that multiple times in this movie. It's very subtle every time they do it. It made me laugh every time they did it. And I was like, these are the kinds of jokes that I want more of as opposed to a lot of the other stuff.
And it's because those jokes punch up.
Yes, yes.
I like it. Every joke that's punching up more or less, I'm into in this movie.
Or punching across. I'll take it across as opposed to a down.
Like when they're a movie making fun of other movies, I'm also fine with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Huddle up. It's me, Angel Reese. You can't beat the post-game burger and fries, right? Know what else you can't beat? The Angel Reese Special. Let's break it down. My favorite barbecue sauce, American cheese, crispy bacon, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun, of course. And don't forget the fries and a drink. It's gonna be a high C for me. Sound good? All you have to do to get it is beat me in a one-on-one. I'm just playing. Get the Angel Reese Special at McDonald's now. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating restaurants for a limited time.
Hi, I'm Kat.
And I'm Pat.
We're from Seek Treatment Podcast, and we're here to talk about Blue Land. Do you know what I'm so about right now, Pat?
What? Tell me. Do not tell me.
Well, ready for this? I just heard that we're eating and drinking roughly a credit card's worth of plastic a week. Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God.
I know. The products we're using are contaminating our water supply, generating hundreds of microplastics that we're eating. So here's the good news. You're never going to believe this. Blue Land is doing something about it. They're eliminating the need for single-use plastic in the products we reach for the most.
From cleaning sprays to hand soap, toilet bowl cleaner, and laundry tablets, all Blue Land products are made with clean ingredients that you can feel good about. Blue Land is trusted in over 1 million homes, including mine. That's correct.
They offer refillable cleaning products with a beautiful, cohesive design that looks great on your counter. And refills start at just $2.25. You can even set up a subscription or buy in bulk for additional savings. I used my Blue Land spray today. I cleaned my dirty yoga mat with my Blue Land all-purpose spray today. It smelled good. It got the job done. And the bottle looked beautiful while doing it.
Blue Land has a special offer for listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/save15.
You won't want to miss this. Blueland.com/save15 for 15% off. That's blueland.com/save15 to get 15% off.
But we cut to one of the stations is talking to Shorty, and I don't love that conversation because they're like, what's on your mind right now? And he's like, well, I was with this girl, but then the roofies wore off, and then I was going to catch charges, so I was like, run, bitch, run. And you're like, oh, no, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's not good. Especially when you already tried to warn us about P. Diddy.
I know, right? We should have seen it coming, guys. We should have seen it coming. The signs were there, and they have been there for a long time.
But then we cut inside to the first time we meet Ray, and Greg Philippi is his name in the movie. The actor's name is Lachlan Monroe, who plays every Republican dad on Law & Order for the last 20 years. You're welcome. You've seen him.
Yeah, he has had it's that guy kind of career, right? Because you do see him in a lot of TV.
He's got a face for football coaches, senators, and conservative dads. That's all of who he plays.
If you're his son, you definitely don't want his life, is all we're saying.
Yeah. But yeah, his character name is Greg. So we meet Ray and Greg. And this is the scene of like, does this shirt make me look gay? And he's like, no. And then he tucks it in so it's like a crop top. And he like flips it so it's like a bikini top almost. And he goes, how about now? And I get that is still punching down. It is delivered perfectly. And if not for the rest of the movie that followed, would make me laugh a lot.
If that was the movie letting us know that Ray was gay and everyone knew, and he was just like being silly about it, Love it.
Love it.
Because it is funny. It is very funny.
Well, here's the thing. I love it if he's like, I'm trying to look gay and everyone's in on that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. That's why you have to have the context of like, oh, he is revealed to be an out gay and accepted character, right?
Right.
And then you're like, oh shit, that was funny. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Yeah.
But that's not really what we get. And so you feel bad for it, even though you're like, this would be a perfect joke under certain circumstances.
Like, I would honestly feel better about it if at the end of the movie, when the prophet John Abraham, renowned P. Diddy prophet John Abraham asks Ray, he's like, wait, aren't you gay? And he's like, if he had then said, no, I'm bi. What are you talking about, gay? Like, even that, I think, would have made it funny.
I would have felt better. Yeah.
Because like, he's just like fluid with it, I guess, or whatever. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But the fact that he identifies as straight makes me not love this part as much. Or the rest of him in the movie, honestly.
I will say him identifying as straight with the conversation that has at the end then becomes a joke about straight men who participate in queer activities and refuse to identify.
Right.
That's a whole different lane that is also pretty funny, but like...
It's also commentary. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Right.
Because he might just be like on the down low.
Sure. And here's the thing. If this was 2025, right? That ending thing would be like, I don't put labels on myself. Sexuality is a spectrum and a pantheon of options, and I'm somewhere on it.
Yeah.
And then all of this would be hilarious.
But at the time, I bet people thought the Ray character was really funny. Because that's the kind of stuff you got in movies. Like, I grew up with movies worse than this for gay representation.
Right.
This might be the worst sort of trans representation we've ever seen. I don't know. It's very bad.
We'll talk about it when we get there, because for as bad as it is, they don't misgender her. So it almost gets it right but wrong at the same time, because it's like they're not misgendering her, but they're also mocking not passing. And so that's shitty too. Like,
I think they don't misgender them, and you can give them credit for that because I don't know the intention behind the joke. But the joke is Mrs. Man, like that's their name.
Yes, that's terrible too. Yeah.
So like even them gendering her correctly feels like it's a joke, So
yes.
But I understand what you're saying. But let's table it until we get there, because it's a nuanced conversation, I suppose.
Yeah. But this is where they all make their way out to the fountain, and they're all talking about, like, well, who do we think killed Carmen Electra or whatever? And this is where Anna Faris is like, well, it's been exactly 1 year to the day since we killed that guy. And this whole sequence, first of all, hilarious that they spend this much time on it. This is like a 20-minute sequence.
It legit is 20 minutes, or close to it. Like, it's long.
Yeah.
I forgot we were still at the fountain.
Yes.
When it cuts back to the fountain, I was like, holy shit, we left from the fountain? What?
So fucking funny.
I know. I loved it too.
So funny. But there is a sequence where, because Ray and Brenda are making out, and Greg and Buffy are making out, and Greg says, I love it when you play with my ass, and Buffy's like, that's not me. And Ray is like, oh, I'm sorry, man, which admittedly in the moment they're both like, whatever, and just kind of go on with their day.
Yeah.
I don't love that it's still one more thing poking at Ray being gay, but I do love the Foley of the suction sound when he pulls his hand out.
Oh, you mean like the legit like sound effect? Like, yeah, I loved it too.
Especially because everyone was just kind of like, my bad, and then just goes back to playing on their own side.
Yeah.
Anyway, Greg pops out of the sunroof and is like, woo, because they're drinking and driving. And he gets hit by like branch after branch after branch after branch.
Paige, it cuts back to him one time. He's got a whole goddamn beehive on his head.
He's got a whole beehive? Hilarious.
It is the rubberiest of rubber beehives too, and I love that nobody cares.
They took that off the live action Winnie the Pooh ride at Disneyland, and they put it back as soon as they were done.
Oh, bother.
Oh, bother.
How dare you bring up A.A. Milne? Come on.
Anyway, they hit something, and they're like, oh no, and they all stop. They get out of the car. They're like, we hit a boot, and they're like, no.
I love that Shannon Elizabeth was like, oh my God, we hit a boot. Like that would have caused what they did. Yeah. So dumb.
But the guy they hit is still alive, but they're not paying attention to him at all. They're like, maybe we should call the police on it. And he's like, actually, that's unnecessary. I'm fine. We could just go on our way.
He's like, he puts on the boot. He literally puts on the other boot.
Puts the boot
and they're like,
back
we were
on.
drinking. And they like throw away the alcohol, and that's what hits him in the head and knocks him out again.
Yes.
And of course, they look over. He's in a totally different position and put his boot back on.
Yeah.
But nobody notices.
No.
So they just like assume he's dead from when they hit him. And he just like rolled over, post-coitus or whatever. And so, wait, that's not it. But either way, like they pick him up and put him in the trunk.
I think you meant post-rigor mortis.
That is what I meant. Yeah, I think it would have been pre-rigor mortis, right? Because it wouldn't have set in yet.
Right. Rigor doesn't set in for quite some time.
Yeah, it's like hours, not minutes.
Yeah.
If it was post-coitus, they would have fucked that corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. I misspoke.
That's all right. But they start to load the body into the car, and who should pull up but Shorty and his crew.
Shorty.
Like, hey, do you guys need any help? He's like, do you need jumper cables? And they're like, no. And he's like, good, because I lost my roach clip. And he's smoking a blunt or smoking a joint off of one of the jumper cables.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that struck me. That cracked me up. I was like, oh my God, is that dangerous? I don't even know.
It is very funny.
Hilarious. And they get to the docks. They pull him out and they're like, let's go through his pockets. It's like, why? It's like, well, we already committed murder. We might as well rob him too.
I know. And then they do. And like, one of them is like, I want his jewelry. One's like, give me the cash. And then Ray is like, I want his briefs or whatever.
Yeah.
If you actually watch the scene though, Paige, they're like rummaging through his pockets.
Yes.
And someone behind them is throwing clothes over them.
Yes.
And like, it's supposed to be like they're throwing the clothes, but it's like John or somebody who's behind them.
Right.
Who I guess is playing Bobby. I can't remember everyone's name in the movie, but I think his name is Bobby in the movie.
Yeah.
It's Anna Faris's girlfriend, I think, is back there throwing clothes.
Anna Faris's boyfriend, yeah. But they go to dump the body and they're like, all right, we take this to our grave. We never mention it again. We will find out that they have told so many people about this.
Yeah. And they told a manipulative criminal mastermind. So they made a huge mistake. That was on Shannon Elizabeth. Like, I think that's like what caused it.
Oh, man. But we cut back to school where Sherry O'Terry as Gail is trying to get the story. And when she says, hold my gum, and takes it out of her mouth and gutter chucks it at her camera operator, I lost my mind.
All that camera operator wants to do is love Sherry O'Terry, and she's terrible to him in this movie.
Terrible. And she's trying to like get stories out of the police. Nobody wants to help her. And very much in the vein of Deputy Dewey, she's like, who do I have to screw to get a story around here? In walks Doofy. And the only reason any of this plays is because of the ending. But if you don't know the ending yet, then you're kind of like, oh no.
Yeah. I will say, I had a lot of notes about like, man, I really hate the way they're treating Dewey as a character because I did not remember the reveal at all.
Right.
So I don't even think I saw it when I was in high school when I saw this movie. But when they reveal that at the end, it makes you really look back on these scenes and think they're funny because he is just like...
He's playing.
Yeah.
He knows. He's a mastermind. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude is like, oh, I caught a dumb one. Like, he is like just manipulating Sherry O'Terry.
Yes.
Into giving him a blowjob, I guess.
Which, man, the Sherry O'Terry, Anna Gasteyer years were like the SNL I grew up on in high school. Like
Will Ferrell, yes.
Tina Fey took over when I was in like college, like late high school, early college.
Tina Fey as head writer was my favorite time.
Yes.
I love Tina Fey. She's so funny. But yeah.
And it was part of this time because she was like writing and then eventually moved on to Weekend Update and whatever. But like, yeah, the Sherry O'Terry, Anna Gasteyer, Rachel Dratch years, Maya Rudolph, that is my favorite.
Yeah.
But although I like current SNL has been very fun as well.
I think every iteration of SNL has been good. There have been betters, but I think they've all been good.
I have argued this where I was like, it's always mediocre, but you have pieces that you like or dislike.
Yes.
No matter what.
That's the reason I like consuming SNL the way I do. I never watch it. I watch the sketches.
Sure.
You know, because they have like a library of sketches.
Well, and they do them standalone now. Yeah, which is nice, actually.
Yeah, so I can just watch them on YouTube, and I get to watch the good ones.
Yeah.
Because SNL, even in the time that I was like, loved it, watched it every week, like would break it down, like try and find scripts online, like just to try and break down joke structure and stuff. Like they had a lot of misses in that time too. I just don't remember them, you know?
Right.
So yeah, it allows me to watch just the ones that hit.
Well, because the hits are the ones that end up on YouTube. Like they're the ones that endure, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we then cut to them in class. Now, this is a joke that starts out seeming like it is punching down and then punches up and across societally.
Yeah, it's like a haymaker.
It's like a haymaker. It's one of those things that, like, because there's some of these, I'm like, I know y'all can do this, and I wish that some of the other stuff was this.
Yeah.
Because it's a teacher being like, this is why we need prayer in school, moral fiber, whatever. And she's breastfeeding a baby and hands it to the baby's father, who is in the front row of class, basically being like, the people who demand and champion, for air quotes, moral fiber are also the ones committing some of these crimes against children, and provably so. And we should all be aware of that.
Yeah, they just want the babies born. They don't want the babies taken care of.
Well, it's not even that. It's like the people who insist so much on family values are the ones doing the worst shit.
Yeah. And it's been like that since the year 2000 and way earlier, because like...
Oh, way earlier, yeah.
The Wayans brothers baked it into this movie.
So and it's an interesting choice to include it in this movie, and it is just this one cutaway. We never come back to it. It made me wonder, because this is pre-Cosby verdict, if this was an indictment of Cosby, because within the community, some people knew, and it had been kind of an open secret for a while. And Cosby had always been someone who was like, pull up your pants, do this thing, be this kind of person.
He had been very critical of that community. Yeah.
Yes. And be externally clean, air quotes.
Yes.
While in his real life being not so much. And it made me wonder if this was, obviously they're speaking to it in a different way, but that same kind of vibe of the people who demand cleanliness then don't have cleanliness within their record, basically.
Yeah.
But as she's talking, Anna Faris looks out the window and Ghostface is out the window, and she gets a note that says, I know what you did last Halloween. And then we get a flashback to her and her boyfriend like feeding each other fruit, and then he feeds her a hot dog and is like putting it in and out.
Oh, you say feed, but she never puts teeth on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she doesn't put teeth on it.
She knows better.
Right.
I did think it was funny because he's like shoving it into her face.
Oh, yeah.
And she's just like, oh, it's so funny.
Well, and it just reminded me of Mean Girls, of like made out with a hot dog that was one time.
Paige, eating a hot dog takes 7 minutes off your life, which is bullshit, first off, because I can eat a hot dog way faster than that.
I know, right? Like I'm making up time.
I know.
At this point.
Paige, I might live forever.
Yeah, also, I hate to alarm you, and I only know this because I wrote jokes about it that I can't tell anymore because another comedian did almost identical ones on TV.
Oh, shit. Candidly, you sent me some footage of you years ago.
Oh, yeah, you had to cut it.
And I edited it for you, and you had jokes that were about hot dogs like this.
Yes.
And I was saying that joke because I was trying to set you up for some of those jokes, and I didn't realize that someone else had released them.
Yeah, no, that was the wildest thing that ever happened in my life, and it is absolutely parallel thinking. No one copied anybody.
Oh, that shit happens, right? Because that study came out, and I guess I was wrong. It was 5 minutes, not 7 minutes.
It's 35 minutes. 35 minutes.
It takes 35 minutes off your life?
35 minutes off your life. So eat a bunch of them.
Paige, I can eat them way faster than that. I'm never going to die. Bring me all the hot dogs.
I know, right? I'm saving time. Bring it.
That's wild, though. I didn't realize that happened. I'm sorry. I was trying to set you up.
It literally was like a week and a half ago that this, I think it was either while I was up for Christmas or evacuated. So within the last month.
Oh, shit. That is recent. This year, it's been this year then.
Yes, it has been within the last calendar year. And Tom Papa released a new special. I love Tom Papa. I think he's hilarious. Also, he's a sourdough bread person like myself. Enjoy it very much. Whenever I'm home, my dad and I will watch a lot of the new stand-up specials together. It's something we like to do. We watched it together. My dad has, of course, seen me do stand-up a lot. And Tom Papa gets in, he starts a joke about, he's like, there was a study about hot dogs. I was like, oh, how funny. And I thought for a minute, I was like, I'm really interested to see how another comedian has internalized this. And it might as well have been word for word my joke. And I was like,
no shit.
No.
Oh, man.
And not just the one joke. I have a 5-minute bit, and it's basically the whole thing. And I was like, and I just sat there with my dad and he's like, well, I guess you can't tell that one anymore, huh? I was like, yeah, I can't. I guess I can't.
No, it's straight up burned now.
Straight up burned now. But again, It is absolutely parallel thinking. There's no time at which it would have been stolen.
Yeah.
He got it to TV first. He wins. But it was the idea of like, I don't need that time.
Yeah.
So like, take it. I'd rather have the hot dog.
Yeah.
And like, this is a person I know who lived longer and they loved hot dogs. So like, how long were they going to live before? And I was like, literally all of it. Like all of it.
I love that you both had not just the idea to take that study and make a comedic premise off of it, but you chose
Right.
the same comedic premise. That's funny.
Bonkers. But then at the same time, I was like, well, this just means I was on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, the only reason I made that joke is I wanted to set you up for those jokes because they were hilarious.
They are hilarious. So go watch Tom Papa do them.
And I am nothing if not a funny producer.
Yeah, go watch Tom Papa do it because it's literally basically the way I was doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway, so we cut back from the hot dog thing and she's like, huh? And then she gets another note that's just like, no, the guy you killed, you bitch.
I also love that in between these cutaways, it cuts back to him.
Yes.
Ghostface, and you see him scamper behind a tree.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
And then she looks over and it's gone and she's scared, but we just saw him scamper behind a tree. Yeah.
We saw him scamper. That's one of the subtle things that this movie does that cracks me up because in Scream movies, Ghostface basically teleports. He's always somewhere, right? And so in this movie, they show him all the time walking from place to place. And for me, as someone who has been critical of the Scream franchise, although I do believe the original is a classic.
Oh, yeah.
As someone who's been critical of the Scream franchise, some of the things they highlight as problems about Scream really make me laugh because I'm like, yep. This person has the same critiques as me and wrote a joke that way. That's very fun.
I think the original Scream does it convincingly, though, because the reveal of that movie is there are two ghosts faced.
Right.
There are two ghosts that have been faced.
Right. The first one, classic.
Yes.
Sequels, struggle. Except for 3. Love 3.
3 is brilliant, and it's my favorite in the Scary Movie franchise.
There you go. We cut to, she goes to the police station. And she goes to the principal's office where...
Yes, first, yeah.
The principal is played by Squiggy. And he basically is like, let's ask some questions. You can talk to the sheriff or whatever. But Doofy is also there overhearing all of this.
Yeah, because he is... a police officer, question mark?
A deputy?
They do seem to let him in the police station and behind the counters and stuff. So he has sort of free access.
Right.
I don't know. Honestly, I need to know more about Doofus's character because I love him.
I don't know. There is a sequel. I mean, there's many sequels. We will eventually get to them.
Cannot wait.
But we cut to the locker room. And this is where a lot of this is not great.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is just playing on the idea that Ray is closeted, but not really. He seems pretty open about it.
Yeah.
But this is where Greg finds a Polaroid, and it is a Polaroid of a naked torso from the waist down that seems to have a fairly small penis. That said, we are watching Greg in a towel or whatever. It's clearly not him.
I know. I did think that was funny too.
It's clearly a completely different person.
And it's not like it's a joke. Like when we see Doofus's through his underwear later when he was messing with the vacuum at home.
Good Lord.
It's not like a joke like that. It's just like the actor has a dick, it's like that.
Right.
And so you're like, oh, clearly that's not a picture of him, but they're playing it like a joke. And I did think it's high school, this would be a thing. I'm assuming you wouldn't want to get out in high school. And the fact that the Polaroid says in the white part under it, I know, I was like, oh my God. It's like, I still know what you did last summer, or I know what you did last summer. I was like, that's a very funny way to incorporate it.
Well, and here's what I will also say. If you are out there listening and you find yourself maybe not having the girth or the length that you want, there are so many other ways to please a partner. I'm just, when he says it's not the size of the hammer, it's the nail you're hitting or how you're hitting the nail.
Oh, yeah. Or the nail you're throwing it at or something like that.
Something like that.
He's not necessarily wrong.
No, he's not necessarily wrong. Anyway, we cut to the fountain, which we kind of glossed over it, but when everyone's arriving at school, Bobby, her boyfriend, lives in a trailer on campus and says goodbye to 14 other people living in that trailer. So when we cut back to the fountain here, he's doing his laundry in the fountain on like an old-timey washboard.
Like a soap and washboard, like he's in the movie Far and Away, Paige. It's hilarious.
Okay, but then, so this is where he brings up Greg comes with the Polaroid, and they end up like getting into kind of an argument and a fight about it. And Ray is like, get my earrings and give me some Vaseline. And it's just, you barely hear it in the background. And I was like, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Great. I love it.
He even says, why don't we get naked and wrestle about it? Or something like that. And that's why he says, give me my Vaseline, hold my earrings. Like,
okay, so the Vaseline is an entirely different, it's not even for the naked wrestling.
But Paige, it could be.
It could be. It's not though. And I'm trying to remember what else it was that somebody has said this, but give me the Vaseline and some razor blades is usually
okay.
Because you would keep razor blades in your cheek to then take out and cut people, or Vaseline on your face so blows glance and don't land.
That actually kind of makes sense. Yeah.
And then you take your earrings off so that people can't pull your earrings.
Yeah, so you can't pull them out. Yeah.
And rip your earlobes. But these are like town fight rules. If you're gonna exist in a place where fights like this happen, you got to know about the Vaseline and the razor blades and the earrings.
Yeah, like you know these rules if you grew up as a drunk in Boston. Like that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you just grew up on the street in other metropolitan localities.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I just picked a city, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but this is where Anna Faris is like, I got one too, and I love that Greg's first inclination is to be like, see, it's normal. A lot of people have small ones. And she's like, no, I got the note. And it's clearly from the killer.
Yeah.
But we cut to the beauty pageant, which I think is supposed to be kind of like Carrie vibes a little bit.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's really so they can do the same kill scene from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
That's
where
what it
one
is.
of them's
Okay.
on the balcony area alone looking down on the stage.
Yes.
And it is in this movie, the pageant is the Miss Teen So Fine is the name of the contest.
Miss Teen So Fine, but they all have their own banners.
Shannon Elizabeth says Miss Fellatio, Paige.
Miss Fellatio.
I thought that shit was hilarious.
There was another one that was really funny that she's barely on screen. I didn't write it down fast enough, but they all have crazy ones that are as nuts as Miss Fellatio.
I know. It's great.
Well, and we get the one girl who has braids, and then we cut down in the swimsuit competition and her pubes are braided as well.
Yes.
Which, like, accessorize however you please, ladies.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Whatever.
But we get to the talent portion, and Shannon Elizabeth's going to do a dramatic reading. And it is her just screaming for Greg, who's being killed in the balcony. And everyone's like, wow, is this...
They're like, God, she's crushing this, right? Like, she's amazing. And, like, they're, like, standing and clapping as Greg's getting murdered. And she's, like, running off stage to go save Greg, doesn't have any idea what's happening, and they stop the whole show. They're like, oh, she won. We're just going to give it to her right now. No one's going to do better than that. And so someone stops her backstage. I think this is when you see the other sash, but I didn't write down what it was either, Paige.
Yeah.
But I remember laughing at it. And then she's like, you won. And Anna Faris runs out and is like, what about Greg? What about Greg? And she's like, fuck Greg. I just won. And she like pushes the other girl out of her way and like goes back on stage. It's so funny.
And the winning song for Miss Teen So Fine.
Oh, Paige. Oh, you mean Mrs. Teen So Fine with killer tits and a grade behind. I wrote it down. I was like, holy shit, that's hilarious.
It gets progressively worse the longer it goes on, too.
I only sang like a third of it. Like there are like 4 lines that are hilarious. I only wrote down the first one. Yeah.
But this is also where, as she's walking this catwalk, people are throwing flowers, and then a lady throws an entire vase and gets her in the head.
So dumb. I loved it. Yeah.
Oh, incredible. So good. This did remind me, though. So my sister, she was a theater major, and she had a classmate that during auditions would either completely make up their monologues on the spot and claim it was an original piece, or would like do this whole intense monologue and be like, thank you, that was Sylvester Stallone from Cliffhanger. And like, it was just like a scene from an action movie. And that dude straight up works. I'm telling you. And now, granted, he also looked like a real life Disney prince. So like, I'm sure that had something to do with it. But like the ones that he would just make up, that blew my mind. That someone would have the balls to just walk into an audition and be like, thank you. This is from Where Blows the Grass. And then just like go off for like a minute and a half. The ultimate improv exercise.
That's amazing.
Honestly, I would love to do a comedy show or something where every comedian, that's what you're going to, you don't tell jokes. You are just performing a monologue that you are making up on the spot. We give you a topic right before, and then you just go. There's stuff that just like where you have to do stand-up based on topics that people hand you, but I want like dramatic monologue. Like, and it could be funny as you go, but like I want somebody going full Miss Fellatio and just taking it.
Or it's just like this long dramatic thing, but it ends with, get to the chopper.
Yeah.
And that was Arnold Schwarzenegger from Predator.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that was the day that Grandma took us to the strip club. Like, whatever, however you want to end it.
Starting off an audition with more or less, so I bet you're wondering how I got here. And like, you're just delivering the dialogue that's actually like the VO in the opening of a scene. Like, that shit would be so fucking funny. I'm sorry.
It's hilarious.
I know we got to move on. I'm sorry.
No. The only one I remember from my sister telling me about this, because like I never got to see it. I wasn't in those auditions, but my sister would see it. The only one I remember is, put down that baba ganoush. We've got shit to talk about. It was like the opening of what he just made up. And he was like, I just thought baba ganoush sounded funny. I was like, bro, like what is happening?
I'd hire that man to do anything.
Oh my God. And he was a genuinely nice guy too. But like,
yeah, I'm sure.
Like finding that out way after the fact cracked me the fuck up. I was like, you're a real one for that one.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Anyway, they can't find Greg's body. So they just give up immediately, which I just love this movie. Is like, we have a problem. We're not going to solve it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not important.
No, but we cut to Anna Faris in the bathtub and Bobby calls and she's like, okay, bye. I'm just going to take a bath and go to bed. Click. And then the phone rings again and it's the killer. And it's like, I still know what you did. And she's like, oh, and like gets out of the bathtub. And this is one of my favorite fourth wall things that they do is because she's like running through the house.
Yeah, and they hit her with the camera. Yeah. And she like pushes the camera away. Like she grabs the lens of the camera and pushes it away. It's so funny. Yeah.
But the killer's just behind the couch and he's like, oh, okay, turn around. And then like hides again. Oh, turn around again.
I love that he's like kicking his little legs. It's so cute. Like he's Gary Oldman in the role of a lifetime. It's adorable. No.
But this is the kind of stuff I'm like, this is hilarious. And this is all punching up or across.
Yes.
So funny. So funny. My favorite then is like, they even work some social commentary in it because they like are running through the house. She like runs up the stairs, pushes an old lady down, then pushes a piano down.
Yeah, her grandmother.
It's her grandmother.
She says, watch out, Grandma, and then pushes her down the stairs and then runs up. The stairs have to actually be like 4 flights of steps that are meant to look like two floors of steps, but because it's like so many steps.
It's so
anyway,
tall.
She gets to the top and pushes a piano down, and the ghostface jumps out of the way, and it kills Grandma, I guess.
It kills Grandma.
Yeah.
I mean, poor Grandma.
Should have moved.
But, well, I also love that Ghostface gets up and is kind of dizzy. He's like, oh, I got to stop drinking.
Yeah.
I was like, love it. But then she goes and calls 911 and we cut to the dispatcher and they're like, hold on, a white woman's in trouble. And there's like so many cop cars.
I think she actually like instant messages 911, right? Like, doesn't she type to them?
Yes. No, she goes, it's to her computer because he like chases her up into her room.
Yeah.
And she pulls up 911 on her computer and types in white woman in trouble.
And then it immediately cuts to her driveway with like cop cars flying into it. Yeah.
So many cop cars. But as the cops get there, Ghostface runs away. But who should show up and climb in through her window but Bobby with the knife and the phone and seemingly like maybe it's him. But then she runs and opens the door downstairs and who should also have the mask but Doofy.
Yeah.
But we cut to the police station and the police captain is asking her, he's like, I'm going to show you some photos and tell me what you think.
This shit was so stupid funny. I loved it.
I knew this is what the joke was going to be, and it did not matter. It made me laugh because she looks through and she's like, I'm sorry. And he goes, are you sure? Take a look at this one again. But does it in the same cadence of Law and Order.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And he goes, well, worth a shot.
But the reveal of it is the photos are of that guy, just like the sergeant, in like a Speedo posing.
Yes.
And it's like, can you help me pick the best one of these or whatever is sort of his motivation in the scene? But she is reacting like they're photos of possible ghostface killers, I guess.
Possible killers that she doesn't recognize.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny.
Which, like, you wouldn't use photos because he was wearing a mask. She, like, doesn't know what he looks like.
She has no idea.
It's, like, the whole premise is dumb, and I love it.
I love it. But this is also the scene that made me laugh the most because they're like, Doofy! And he like turns and reveals that hand-drawn wanted poster.
Yeah.
And it just says, killer wanted, call Doofy. Yeah. No numbers. But this is also where we find out that Doofy is Buffy's brother. And she's like, Mom said get home now. So they're going to take Cindy on a Ferris home.
Yeah.
But this is where the sheriff's department are giving a press conference and Sherry O'Terry is asking questions.
Yeah.
And this is also where Doofy on stage is just like, hi, like, hello, basically implying that there's a relationship between both of them. Meanwhile, Ghostface calls Shorty while Shorty is at home, and thus ensues a piece of pop culture history that most of our younger listeners probably don't know about or remember.
Yeah, this is just referencing a popular commercial at the time.
Yes.
As a Budweiser commercial, I think, right?
I think it was Budweiser. Yeah. Was and honestly, like, for as dumb as this is to reference a commercial that they think we would remember this far in the future, it did make me laugh. And I was like, oh.
I mean, I know the joke because I remember those commercials because I'm old enough to be the target audience of this movie, you know?
Right.
But like, if you were born in the past, I don't know, 25 years, you're not.
Right. But we cut to Buffy's house where Cindy is staying over. And she's like, do you think it's Bobby? I don't know. And Doofy's like, I brought you an ice pack, and just spikes it at her head.
Yeah, for her hand. And it like bounces off of her face. And then he's like, I'll go get you one for your face.
And she's like, no, I'm okay. Thank you.
So funny.
And this is also where I don't like the way Buffy refers to Doofy, because up until now, the question has just been like, what is the deal with Doofy? And Buffy in this scene doubles down on the R word, and you're hate that.
I wish she had said something like, you know, he's been this way since the accident or something. So that like you learn, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, Doofy had this like genius plan.
And has been working on it ever since.
Yeah. Has been like planning and plotting and pretending ever since.
Hilarious. But the phone rings. It's not Bobby. It's the killer. And so she screams. She calls everybody. This is where Doofy comes out with the vacuum cleaner. It's a lot.
Yeah. In hindsight, because he is just playing a part.
Right.
Like, I don't really think he's fucking that vacuum cleaner when I see the turn. But he clearly has like a dildo with a huge like cock and balls shoved into his pants. Like, it's insane. It is like Dirk Diggler levels of bulge in those pants.
Can I tell you the thing that makes me laugh harder than the bulge? And these are the subtle pieces of comedy that truly make comedy great.
Yeah.
Is that when he drags the vacuum cleaner behind him, it's not like a stand-up vacuum cleaner, which would have been common at the time. It's like one of those shorter ones that was like a vintage vacuum cleaner, but he just kind of like yanks it as he drags it, and it kind of clatters through the hallway.
Yes.
And that made me laugh so hard.
It's very funny.
So many choices. Anyway, we cut to school, and Shorty is like, man, this is exactly like that movie. And it's almost like he's about to be the Jamie Kennedy character.
Yeah.
But he's just like, nah, somebody shot up the theater and I didn't see the end. Anyway, we should stick together.
I know.
But this is where they decide that everyone should go to Anna Faris's house so they stick together. That's why the house party is going to happen.
Yeah.
However, we will learn that Ray and Brenda are going to go do something else. We'll get there in just a second.
Right.
But this is the press conference where they're like, is there a suspect? Is it the father? And they're like, that's confidential. And this is where Doofy is like, hey, Gail. Gail swallows. And you're like, oh, my God. Oh, no. But somebody calls, and it's for Cindy. She's mad again, but the killer's not there.
Right.
But this is also where she's like, you know, if they wanted to kill me, like they could have in the house, all the stuff. We also, at this point, get safety tips. And this is where unfortunately, the Miss Man section starts.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. The safety tips, valuable because, yes, shaving your pubes does not necessarily get rid of craps.
Right.
And always wipe front to back.
As a rule.
As a rule, right? But she kind of approaches Cindy and is like, if you need to talk, I'm here for you. And then we cut to later in the office where she's sniffing, I would assume, a student's panties. And that's not great because it's kind of painting her as a predator.
Yeah.
But that said, as a woman who grew up in this era, when she sits down and is like, I'm having some problems. And Miss Man goes, are you not feeling so fresh down there? I was like, oh my God, because that is also a commercial.
Yeah.
That was the Summer's Eve commercials at the time of like that not so fresh feeling. And she just goes, not that. It's just, but this is where Miss Man stands up and is like, hey, we all have our little secrets. And her testicles dangle out from below her shorts.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I will still affirm Miss Man's identity is her. And it's fine for her to have testicles. There's a whole wide range of genitalia out there for any number of people and their identification. Great. The movie does not believe it to be that way. Like, the movie is absolutely trying to mock her.
Yeah.
In that moment.
It's almost playing it like they did it because they were maybe not the best at sports. So they started just pretending to be that other gender so that they could win in sports, which is also a really gross sort of thing that people talk about today as like a dog whistle kind of thing.
Yeah.
But now that they're stuck in that pretending lane, because they became like a famous, I think, collegiate athlete and they got a job coaching because of it. Like they're forced to live this life they're not super happy with maybe. Like, I don't know. The joke is not great and it doesn't fully make sense.
It's kind of like Ace Ventura where it's like,
yes.
Ha ha ha, testicles.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's not great.
It's not great.
Yeah.
It's bad. We cut from that to Shannon Elizabeth in the locker room. And this is where Ghostface is going to come kill her. And she's like, oh, I'm supposed to get stabbed. Oh, I'm dying. Oh, I'm supposed to trip and break my leg, which looks fucking gross.
I know. And she like literally breaks her leg in half. Like, it's real gross.
Yes.
This is one of the scenes where I was like, damn, can Shannon Elizabeth like really, really act? Because she has to play in this like really narrow lane of like way over the top, sarcastic, funny, being murdered. Like those are all the things she has to pull off in this scene. And she nails it. It's really funny.
Right. And this is where he like cuts her head off and she's like, oh, I'm like so dead or whatever.
I know.
Puts it in the trash. But then we cut to another scene that I'm like, why is this here? Because they walk out and she's like, I don't know. The killer could have killed me at any time. Why didn't he kill me at the house? And she just goes, what are you waiting for? Meanwhile, we know somebody is on top of the school about to jump.
It's a teacher.
And jumps. Yeah. It's a teacher. We get a dummy drop. And she's like, oh, sorry. And then just leaves. And I'm like, oh, no.
She actually starts to giggle.
Yeah. It's like, oh,
it's not great.
Good.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But we cut to Ray and Brenda hooking up. And she's like, I don't know. The party doesn't seem like a good idea. Like, if the killer's going to be like, let's just go to the movies. And he's like, okay. Now, she is wearing his football jersey and he's like, oh, that looks really hot. Okay, like put the pants on and the pads and the helmet, and then flips her over and calls her Brendan.
Yeah.
Which again is all kind of like, oh.
And then it's like, now get me. And like wants her to get on top of him.
Yeah. It's not great.
It is not great.
But then we also cut to this next scene, the scene right after it, to me is one of the funniest parts of the entire movie.
Yeah.
And the kind of hilarious punching up that this movie does so well, where it's Sherry O'Terry as Gail, and she's gone to Lover's Lane to interview people who are about to be killed. And she goes up to the car and is like, so you're sitting alone in your car. Tell us how that happened. And she's like, well, my boyfriend went to go investigate a noise like 10 minutes ago, but he hasn't come back. And she's like, so he's fully been murdered, right? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe, I guess.
You think? Do you think he's been murdered? She's like excited about it. Yeah.
Do you think he's been murdered? And then she's like, yeah, it looks like he's going to come back for you. And the killer does and is murdering that girl. And she's just like, sir, so you're killing this girl.
Yeah.
She's like still trying to interview. And then they take off through the woods and we get full Blair Witch.
Yes.
And It's so good.
With so much CGI snot coming out of Sherry O'Terry's nose. It's so much. It's so gross.
It is, but like, holy shit, is that fun? I was like, that's a great spoof in the middle of this movie. What a great way to touch on that movie.
Yeah, to like loop that one in.
Meanwhile, we get to the movie theaters with Brenda and Ray. And Brenda has brought a full tray of fried chicken to the movies.
Yes.
Because she's an innovator. I mean that.
I know you do.
But we see the first trailer. And again, only because it's the Wayans brothers writing this, do I consider this to be funny and social commentary. But the first trailer, where it's set up like it's Titanic, but it's Keenan Ivory Wayans. And he's like, I'm the king of the world. And then the whip cracks and it's like, Amistad 2.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God. Which is a joke I definitely did not get when I was younger, seeing this for the first time.
I certainly don't. I don't remember if I saw this the first time I like saw parts of this movie, but I would not have gotten it at that time of my life either.
Oh God. But again, knowing the perspective from which this is written, screaming, I was like, oh, amazing.
It was very funny, yeah.
But we cut to Ray goes to the bathroom and finds a glory hole. I do love that there's like the carnival games for pissing and everything, which is just a random weird aside, but I love it.
It's very funny, yeah.
He leans down to the glory hole and gets a dick through his head, which normally I think would kill people.
Yeah, I think anytime you have something like that goes through your brain, it would kill you, yeah. But apparently he handles it like the, the boss Air Force guy in Hot Shots that puts the handkerchief through his ears. Like he handles it like that because he's fine. But you see a full ass dick go in one side of his ear and out the other.
Out the other. We cut back to the theater. And again, because the Wayans are writing this, they are playing this they are playing with the stereotype of Black people talking in movie theaters and typically in horror movies. And Regina Hall's lines are all reflective of what would be a horror movie, but they're watching Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah.
And so he's like climbing up the balcony for Juliet, and she's like, don't go in there.
Well, and then they see each other, or he sees the nurse and screams, and she's like, ah! And like, oh, that scared me. Like she's responding like it was a scary movie scream. Yeah.
She pulls out a Sony Handycam and is like bootlegging the movie.
When it gets to the sex scene, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And the other patrons are upset with her. And Ghostface comes in and she's like, oh, Ray, good, you're back. And like doesn't realize it's Ghostface. And then Ghostface goes to stab her, and before he can, another patron grabs the knife and stabs her, and then everyone in the theater has knives, and they basically Julius Caesar her.
I literally wrote that. I was like, they kill her like Caesar. That's how much they hate people talking in theaters.
Well, and they keep, this is for this movie. This is for this movie. You ruined this movie.
I love the old lady who like slices her throat.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yes. Oh, God. It's bonkers, and again, only funny because of the perspective from which it is written. However, I will say that one of my favorite scary movie experiences, when I saw Paranormal Activity in theaters live, there was a very loud family sitting a few rows in front of us. It was just me and my screenwriting class because we went as writing for horror movies. We went as a field trip.
Nice.
And then a few rows in front of us was a very loud family. And in the end, when Katie is possessed, in the front, she just went, oh no, she needs Jesus. And it's to date the funniest. I laughed so hard. And my teacher was so mad because he was like, it broke the tension of the movie. I was like, in a delightful way. I want to watch, honestly, enhances horror movies for me. I love hearing reactions in horror. Like nothing makes me happier than when I saw Barbarian in theaters, the first time you see the woman that lives in the basement, because she just like smashes that guy's head, the entire theater went like, oh, and then we heard someone behind us be like, God damn. And I'm like, it makes it better sometimes is all I'm saying.
I'm glad your stance on that is it makes it better because I feel less bad about when I stood up and yelled fuck during Hereditary and towards the end.
If If that would have happened when I saw Hereditary, I would have lost my damn mind. I would have loved it.
People did start laughing a little bit. It was later when the tension sort of dies, but people started laughing, and I'm assuming they were laughing at me.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, which is fair. It is funny. I get it, but it scared the shit out of me, man. Like, I could not handle it.
There's a scene in Baby Girl where Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson are kind of like doing their thing. And then in the background, you see that someone has arrived in the doorway that they didn't expect to be there. And the first time I saw it in the row right in front of us, a group of 3 girls just went, oh, and one just went, oh shit.
I love it.
And I that and the laughter once father figure played.
Yes.
I love an active movie. That's why I like seeing things in theaters, because people aren't ready for it. It just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Personally prefer it. Anywho, we cut back to the house party, and Marissa Jarrett Winokur goes to get more booze, and it's all Satan malt liquor or whatever. And she hears something run behind her, and it's a cat. And she's like, oh, it's just a cat. And then she turns around again, and it's a horse in the garage that we never see again.
Right.
They had that horse for one day. But the Ghostface comes in, and she's like, please, no, I'm just a day player. Which is
so funny, because we've never seen her until, like, she was on set one day. She was only on set that day.
One day.
To pretend to be Rose McGowan in, like, sort of a fat, shamey kind of way.
Well, but also to, like, pad the kill count.
Yeah.
And I do, hey, as a fat person, yes, I understand the fat shaming that is happening here, but I think it's almost more a commentary on people trying to escape horror movies by going in through too small of holes. So, like,
which is, I think, what Rose McGowan makes the mistake of in that movie, clearly, yeah.
Yep. And similar to my experience seeing Paranormal Activity, I had a friend, and I don't remember what movie it was, but she was in a movie theater, and someone in a horror movie tried to get through a window or ran into a bathroom to get out. And someone yelled, not the bathroom, they got them tiny windows. and it has stuck with me ever since. I'm like,
she's not wrong.
Yeah, they got them tiny ass windows.
They do.
Which they do. So she tries to get through the cat door. She doesn't. And they try to raise the garage door. The joke is that her weight pulls down everything around her because she's what? Powerful.
Right. Absolutely.
Meanwhile, back in the house, Cindy is now fully partied up. And Bobby shows up, and she's like, I want to show you something. Come upstairs. Not great. Alcohol involved.
Right.
Not awesome.
She definitely couldn't consent, but appears to in this scene or whatever. Is that what you were getting at, Paige?
Yeah. We don't know how much she drank or how, but yeah, it's murky.
Right. I do want to say, though, the jacket her boyfriend's wearing would wear. Like the black leather jacket with the red accents. Hell yeah, all day.
Surprised you don't already own it.
If I could find it, I would.
But they go upstairs and they're like kind of cuddling on the bed, and he's like, I don't know, it feels kind of like a movie. She's like, it's not, I mean, it's, yeah, like there's a crew here. Like we are making a movie. But then they proceed to make out with no hands.
Yeah.
And like, which is real weird.
Well, it's like they're kissing and then just like fencing with their tongues, I guess,
right.
is how you'd position it.
Yes.
Which is a little much, I think, a little crazy.
And their tongues get tied. That's pretty gross. But we cut from there to Shorty and his friends all getting high. And he's like Haley Joel Osment's Sixth Sense, where he's like, I see dead people. Like all the time. They're like,
right?
This shit is incredible. I don't have any more papers. What can we make into a bong? They make the fish tank into the bong. Ghostface shows up and they're like, oh shit. And he just gets high with them.
Yes.
Which is absolutely a reference to Leprechaun Back to the Hood, where they get the leprechaun stoned and they're like, oh man, this little guy with the bong. And then he murders them with the bong. And
that's amazing.
But it is very similar to this scene.
I don't think we've seen that movie.
We have not, and I cannot wait.
So I just Googled it. Back to the Hood came out December of 2003.
Yeah, it's right around this time.
So that came out after this.
Oh shit, maybe they were, oh damn.
Yeah, maybe this one did it first.
Maybe this one did it first. Wild. I always thought Back to the Hood did it first, but.
Because this is 2000, right? Hang on, let me check.
Yeah.
It is 2000. Yeah, so They did it. In fact, Scary Movie 3 came out in 2003. By the time Leprechaun Back in the Hood lifted it, there had been 2 other Scary Movies.
That is wild.
Amazing.
That's crazy. But we cut back to them in the bedroom. He's like trying to push her head down, which I hate, but I do love that she's like pushing back, like, ugh.
The joke of that is very funny. It's actually very gross behavior, but I also think that that's sort of what they're playing on.
Yes, that it is gross.
But I did laugh. I was like, oh shit, that's very funny.
Well, and because of what happens next, where it's like, he's like, just lick it like a Tootsie Pop. She's like, with a chocolatey center? He's like, yeah. And so she like licks, crunch. She's like, I could never wait to lick to get all the way through. And he's like, okay, let's switch places. And when he went to pull her underwear down and bats came out, I lost my mind. I lost it. I loved it.
Paige, I wanted her in the Tootsie Roll part for her to be like, 1, a 2, a 3, and then just bite into it. That would have made me laugh. Anyway, but yeah, I did think the bats were funny. I thought the 70s bush of it all was very funny. And he gets out the hedge trimmer and like trims it back. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
It's incredibly dumb. However, she then gets on top and gets very aggressive. I thought it was going to go for like a Ghostbusters kind of thing, but it ends up being almost like a Nightmare on Elm Street callback with the like fountain of cum blasting her against the ceiling.
She gets plastered to the ceiling in jizz.
Kind of like the blood, you know, in Nightmare.
It's supposed to be because she's been like teasing him all movie, or like he's the one who's not getting any the whole movie, so he had a lot of stored up. And it's just been edging the whole time, I guess.
Right. Allegedly.
Allegedly, of course. Yeah.
But we then cut back to all of the guys getting high with Ghostface, and they start like a rap battle, and Ghostface is rapping, but he's like moving with the hooks and kills everyone else in the room.
Yes. And then it cuts back to like Shorty standing next to him like, damn, that was amazing. Like, doesn't even realize that his friends are dead.
I kind of love it.
It's very funny, yeah.
Anyway, we cut back to the party, and she's like, where were you, Bobby? Because you came here late, and he's like, oh, are you trying to accuse me of killing Buffy and Greg? And she just goes, Buffy and Greg are dead? Because she hasn't been in those scenes in the movie and should have no idea. Which, yes, it seems like just a funny aside. This is a joke about Scream.
I think so.
Of like people knowing things that they could not know because they weren't there.
Yeah, they wouldn't know yet because like they just died and this character was not in those scenes.
Right,
and like the police don't even know yet.
Right. So she takes off running. She grabs a gun and she tries to protect Ray. And he's like, it's Bobby. Bobby's like, give me the gun. Bobby gets the gun. Shorty walks in and is like, hey, everybody, the killers, and immediately gets shot.
Yeah.
But then as he's laying on the ground, he's like, it got me in the lungs, implying that there's like weed smoke floating out of it.
You want to hit this?
You want to hit this?
And then dies.
The bullet hole.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
It's honestly very funny. I laughed. Yeah.
But this is where they end up in the kitchen and Ray and Bobby are like, it's us. We're the killers because we're actually gay together. And she's like, what? Wait, what's your motivation? They're like, look, did Scream make any sense? No. Did I Know What You Did Last Summer make any sense? No. So why this gotta make any sense? And I was like...
But that's all like, it's all like Bobby Ganoush's or whatever his last name is. I think it's Ganoush. He's saying that because he's like, I learned through my abstinence because you wouldn't put out that I'm actually gay with Ray. And Ray's like, what?
He's like, but we went to San Francisco. He's like, I wanted to go shopping. I
like shopping. Yeah.
You took me to that club. The music is good.
The music was great. Yeah. But I sucked you sucked my, hey guys, hang on. Like she interrupts him right before he says it, but it's very funny.
But this is where they're like, but also we're just copycatting another killer that's been going around. Like we aren't even the real killers. And also we have your dad kidnapped. So like he's been here the whole time. And so they pull her dad out. He's got like a ball gag and everything. Yeah. And he's like, just don't call the cops. And it's like, they're already there. It doesn't matter. But this is where they have the speech of like, I don't care what you've seen on movies or TV shows. You shouldn't kill people. And Ray, who is then stabbing Bobby to make it look real, is like, look, watching TV shows doesn't make you a serial killer. Canceling them does. The Wayans Brothers was a good show. We didn't even get a final episode. And he's just like stabbing over and over again. So good.
Yeah, he's just overtaken with rage. So instead of stabbing him once, he like quote stabs too deep, right? Because that's like what makes Matthew Lillard in Scream, which is how you say his name, say he feels woozy, which Mr. Ganoush or Bobby in this movie says as well. Like they mirror that same line. Yeah, they make reference to it.
Right. But in comes Ghostface, because neither one of them was actually Ghostface, because we'll find out who it is in a second. And they have a Matrix fight, because Matrix had only come out like a year or two before this.
When she throws that like centerpiece from like the coffee table or whatever, it goes full ass bullet time, and he bends back like he's the one.
But then he has to crack his back.
Yeah, and then he has to like fix his back. I was like, oh, is it her dad or something? Like, is he just like an older guy who's like struggling? Because that would have been a fun reveal too. But anyway. She manages to kick him out the window. The police show up, and then the body is gone. And they bring her into the police station because she's the only one like left standing. And she then tells that cop about the guy they killed. And he's like, no, we actually found that guy. He was in a river, so it's not him. Yeah.
But like, I don't know who this killer could be. She's like, well, it'd have to be somebody that people didn't pay attention to, who knew everybody, who could move around without... And this is where she like drops the coffee cup, and it says Doofer coffee cups on the bottom.
When it shows that coffee cup, because it's a reference to Usual Suspects when the cop is putting it all together, right?
Right.
And you see the name of the porcelain company on the bottom of the coffee cup, and it's like the exact same shot, more or less.
Right.
There's a goldfish in the shot in Scary Movie. Like there was a goldfish in that coffee cup.
Yes.
And it is so dumb.
And it flops out on the ground.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. I loved it.
But we then get a shot of Doofy walking away, and his feet are crooked, and he straightens them.
It's just like Usual Suspects.
Usual Suspects.
Perfection. Yeah.
He combs his hair back, and then he hops in a convertible with Sherry O'Terry, and they drive away. And then Anna Faris runs out and is like, no!
That's right.
And gets hit by a car. But then we get a shot of Shorty, who's like, if you're watching this tape, I'm not here anymore. I'm probably dead or something. But rule 1, you got to be quick. Rule 2, don't fall down. Rule 3, never look back. Snatch and run, y'all. And they pull back out, and he's robbing a convenience store.
It's almost like he said that to the security camera before robbing the place that had the security camera up. It was very funny. And the guy who owns the store does shoot at them.
Yes.
So it is like a life and death situation. It's very funny. I thought it was very funny.
And that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what do you think about Scary Movie, Paige?
I mean, there's a lot of it that don't hold up, but there's also pieces that really do hold up. And so, man, like, it's tough because that time was so gross with some of the things they made fun of. But even with that, there are some really funny things in this movie. So I understand if you don't want to watch it. I get it.
Yeah, I do think it's like if you were in that time, you probably loved it and it was great when you watched it. And then if you watched it now, you'd be like, oof, this doesn't hold up. Like, it just doesn't really, because of the social, honestly, progressiveness that has happened in the acceptance of marginalized communities, which is great. That's what it should be.
Right.
But this movie came out and was catered to an audience in a time when that was not something that was done, and you could absolutely punch down on anybody you wanted to, more or less. And the sections that punch down on, I don't love. But I do think the Wayans make great movies. And so large portions of it really do still stand up and are very funny. So it's like is it a movie you want to watch over and over and like a lot? No, probably not. But it's probably a movie that people like put on because they've seen a bunch and they do other things and they just clue into the sections of the movie they actually like. Like, I could see watching this again that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here it is with your fun facts. Scary
movie fun facts. This is a fun one, mainly just for you, Todd.
Okay. Where my Mormons at? Did you say Utah? You said a fun fact for Utah?
No, I mean, possibly for them as well, but also for you in particular.
Yeah.
We have been batch recording because we have to work and travel and a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And that means that we recorded Romancing the Pod literally less than 18 hours ago. Like, so soon.
Yeah. I literally finished recording with you, slept, watched this movie, and then started recording with you again.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Because yesterday I had to fly in. I got up at 2 a.m. to fly from Fort Lauderdale back home so we could do that.
Right.
And I have to leave tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. to go to Austin. My life is great.
I check into a hotel tonight after we do this.
Yeah.
But yesterday, 18 hours ago. We recorded a Romancing the Pod movie in which the title role was originally written for and offered to Aaliyah. And I'm here to tell you today that in this movie, the role of Brenda was originally offered to Aaliyah.
Oh, what? Awesome. Great. I mean, it's not awesome that she couldn't do it because she passed away. I'm assuming that's why she was replaced, right?
No, because this was before.
Oh, okay.
But I think it was just she was doing Queen of the Damned or something instead. But
I mean, fair. But Brenda's played by Regina Hall, who was also amazing. Like,
also hilarious. Great comedic timing. I think Regina Hall is the better choice. Yeah.
Me too, honestly. That's what I was going to say. Although I've not seen Aaliyah do a comedic role because sadly we lost her too soon, as I said yesterday. Mm-hmm. But I really love Regina Hall in this movie. I would have liked to have seen the Aaliyah version too, just to see what that would be like.
Just curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at around 54 minutes, and it's right before the Amistad 2 trailer.
Yeah.
The preview screen, if you pause it, reads, "The following P-view has been ass-proved for immature audiences only.
Yes.
If you can read this, you are too close. Pee-pee, poopy, boogers, farts, butthole. Rated I for immature. We thought it would be funny to put this here. Kiss our asses and take it off pause."
That's awesome. I love that they left that in there for like nerds. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yes. The original script featured a cameo for Jamie Lee Curtis.
What?
Where when Ghostface is chasing her around the house, Cindy would go to hide in a closet and Jamie Lee Curtis would be there.
That would be around the time of like H2O too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think this would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Probably why she couldn't do it, honestly.
Yeah.
Because of H2O.
That's so funny.
In one of the first scenes in Cindy's bedroom, she says, "Would like to have a little bump. And that line was actually written originally for Scream, but was later changed to, "Would you like to have a little raw footage?" So that was something about the lore around Scream. So they included it in this movie.
Interesting. Okay.
The lunchroom menu at the high school reads "same old shit."
Accurate.
This is Anna Faris's first real feature. She landed the part a week away from moving to her company's London office. She was working in an ad agency.
What?
Yes. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So she was about to leave Hollywood.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. But this is why, because you and I talk about where people are like, you like to make sure that people recognize the work they have put in to make things happen, as opposed to just attributing something to God or luck or whatever.
Yes. I'm a big proponent of taking credit because you did the work. Yeah.
Sure. But this is one of those pieces that for me allows for both. Because yes, obviously give yourself the credit of how hard you've worked for everything.
Yeah.
But the timing on this, I'm like, unseen hand of God, making it happen sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that most of people that are successful got so because they were talented and very lucky, right?
They are very lucky.
And you could say that's God or luck or whatever. I have no problem with whatever you call it. Yeah. But I do think that is an incredible stroke of luck or God intervention or whatever. Yeah. And listen, thanks God or luck, because I like Anna Faris and stuff. Man, her performance in Just Friends is worth her not moving to London alone.
Oh my God, yes. This was something they talked about at the end of the Oprah Winfrey episodes for that Behind the Bastards just finished.
I just finished that as I was landing back yesterday at 7:25. I landed in Nashville at 7:25 a.m. I got up too early. It was dumb.
But yes, I love that perspective of, and the criticism was that every person who is famous or incredibly successful or rich is like, well, I worked hard to get there. It's like, sure you did, but in order for, a lot of people will work hard and still not get the thing that you got. They could work even as hard as you and still not get the thing that you got.
Right.
Because ultimately there is some element of luck. You were in the right place at the right time for the hard work that you did to pay off, regardless of how hard you worked. And a lot of people don't like to admit that. And that's one of those things that I was like, yeah. And it's like, it's not that you were lucky because, hey, maybe your life was still hard, but you have experienced luck in some areas that enabled you to be in the right place at the right time.
Yes. Like when people say, luck is just preparation meeting the point of opportunity. Yeah, the point of opportunity is luck. You just resaid luck is when I get lucky and have prepared. Okay.
Right.
Great.
Right.
Thank you for acknowledging luck exists.
Great.
While dismissing those who unfortunately haven't had as much as you.
A better phrasing of that, I think it's Barefoot Contessa that said it, was be prepared for when the luck finds you.
Yeah.
Which is basically like, I like that better of like, always be prepared for when the timing finds you.
Yeah.
Because, hey, it may never find you, but then you were always prepared or whatever.
Well, yeah, I like that one better too because it acknowledges that luck is a part of it. The other ones are like conservative bootstrap bullshit talking points. Like it's like very frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jared Leto.
I think it's Leto, Paige.
Leto was offered the role of Bobby.
It's French for the toe. There's 20 in the family.
Oh, well, that seems like not enough. But he declined in favor of doing Requiem for a Dream, which is probably the better choice.
Probably the right choice. Yeah.
Probably the right choice.
Yeah.
But Marlon Wayans was also in that. So that's kind of fun too.
I've never seen Requiem, but I've heard it's sad.
Dork. It's real dork. I had a bunch of friends over for a cereal treat potluck at my house, and someone referenced that movie and was like, wasn't that? And it was like, yes, we all recognize that was Requiem for a Dream. We'd like to not remember the film.
Yeah.
But after they released Scary Movie 2, they modified the covers for Scary Movie 1 because originally they said no sequels. And so the new covers just have a giant X over the no sequels part.
That's great, honestly.
This was released by the same studio that released Scream, so they had some insider info to that. Now, this is an Easter egg that I, again, don't love because I don't love the Miss Man sequence, but there is a Nazi SS uniform hanging to the right of Miss Man.
Oh, man, that's terrible.
It's terrible, but implying that perhaps that is why changes were made for potential anonymity, and I hate that. I hate it a lot, but...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Especially because what the Nazis did to that community. Like, shit. Okay, interesting.
Yes. Now, you will notice in the credits of this movie, there are also screenplay credits for Aaron Seltzer and Jason Friedberg, but very little, if anything, from their screenplay was used. Marlon Wayans, in particular, has said that he and most of the other writers were responsible for the final script and never even read their draft. Keenan Ivory Wayans checked it over and assured them that it contained nothing worth retaining in their version. Despite this, Seltzer and Friedberg's later movies were marketed with the phrase from 2 of the 6 writers of Scary Movie.
I mean, that's funny. That's like Pete Best, who was kicked out of the Beatles right before they got famous, releasing an album called Best of the Beatles. Like, that's funny.
Before I had real comedy credits, because whenever you go up at a comedy show, they ask for your credits.
Yeah, because they want to introduce you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I used to use as a credit, has been rejected from SNL 6 times.
I mean, that's a great credit.
It went great every time.
And has the benefit of being true. Yeah.
It has the benefit of being true. And it was I always found it very funny, regardless of how other people felt. So in the opening scene, you can see the movie poster for Scream, which is pretty fun. In the theatrical trailer, because this is 2000, a scene shows, I believe it's Marlon Wayans holding up a chip and saying, "This stuff is good." But in the movie, it's a joint. So
awesome.
Alicia Silverstone was offered the role of Cindy and turned it down.
Oh, okay.
Let's get a little bit deeper into the screenplay because this is kind of interesting.
Okay.
So this is how the Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer thing happened. Dimension Films bought 2 scripts in 1998. The first being Last Summer I Screamed Because Halloween Fell on a Friday the 13th, written by the Wayans brothers and Phil Bowman, who was their collaborator on a lot of other things. But then they also bought a script that was called Scream If You Know What I Did Last Halloween by Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer. Now, Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer are the ones that the people I know ended up working with at some point.
Oh, really?
But they went on, they went on to make Date Movie and Epic Movie, and I have seen at least Epic Movie, and it is terrible. So, like, I feel like we got the best. The other 4 of the 6 were probably the better version.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, the Principal Squigman, is played by David L. Lander, who played Squiggy on Laverne and Shirley, and there is a bottle of Schatz beer on his desk. The Principal in Scream, which is film parodies, was played by Henry Winkler, who played Fonzie on Happy Days, which does have crossover universes with Laverne and Shirley. So that was very, very fun.
Oh, does it? I didn't realize that.
Yes. Yeah. Very rarely, but like they kind of exist in the same ether a little bit.
Interesting. Okay. Britney
Spears and Jenny McCarthy were offered the role of Drew Deckard, which Carmen Electra plays.
Yes.
But McCarthy ends up in Scream 3 and then eventually appears as Katie in Scary Movie 3. So she ends up in both Scream 3 and Scary Movie 3, which I think is kind of fun. I'll end on this. We talked about it a little bit. The What's Up scene is a parody of a 1999, so it was literally the year before, Budweiser TV commercial from the Super Bowl called True. The commercial became an inspiration for other Budweiser commercials using that catchphrase until the year 2002, which if you were around from the time, they had one with like frogs, they had one with whatever.
Yes.
Like a whole bunch of stuff. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Scary Movie in the year 2000?
Year 2000, I think they made this for about $6 million.
Oh, Paige, it was actually $19 million.
Oh, all right. Hey, I'll accept that.
Which if you adjust for inflation, it's like $34.6 million today.
Sure.
But, I mean, let's talk about how it did. So it came out July 7th. 2000, like the weekend of July 4th, right after that. And it was number 1 in the theater that weekend it came out. So it beat the number 2 movie, The Perfect Storm. Number 3 was The Patriot. Number 4 was The Kid. And number 5 was Chicken Run.
Oh, God, Chicken Run.
I know, right? What do you think Scary Movie made in its opening weekend?
It was number 1?
It was number 1. Yeah, it beat all those movies I just listed. Yes.
Well, yeah, that's not really a murderer's row.
I mean, Chicken Run's probably my favorite of the bunch.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this made $15 million that week.
Oh, Paige, I am so happy to report it brought in $42.3 million in its opening weekend. So it was a $19 million budget and made more than twice that in its opening weekend alone. It was in theaters for 20 weeks. It was in the top 5 for its first 4 weeks. In fact, it was in the top 4 because it was first, second, fourth, and then fourth again in its 4th week. And then it dropped to 7th and then was never again in the top 10. But the weekend of September 15th, 2000, I don't know what happened, but it went from being in just 373 theaters to being in almost 2,000 theaters. And then because of that, it brought in like way more money and jumped back to 9th on the charts.
Here's my question. Was a Scream sequel out?
Oh, shit. I don't know. I can check. Hang on. No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay, then I have no idea. I can't help you.
And it's not Oscar season, so they didn't win any Oscars or anything. Like it wasn't that. Anyway, it went on to be in theaters for a total of 20 weeks. So it didn't come out of theaters until November 17th, 2000. Or I guess that was its last week in theaters. But what do you think it made domestically at the box office?
Domestically, this was a hit. That's why it has so many fucking sequels. So I'm going to say, so it made like 42, so it already made its budget back.
And then some, yeah. And that was in its first week, Paige.
Right. I'm going to say this tops out around 90 million.
Oh, Paige, it brought in $157 million in the year 2000.
Good for them. That's hard to do back then, too.
So it made a ton of money. It also, Paige, made 120.1 internationally. So it brought in $277.2 million, which if you adjust for inflation is $500 million. It's $504 million, which means, and I'm looking at the entire franchise of the Scary Movie franchise.
Yes.
It's a $1 billion franchise, Paige.
Oh my God.
This movie did the best, followed by Scary Movie 4, which brought in $178 million worldwide. Scary Movie 3 is number 3rd on the list at $155 million. Scary Movie 2, which is the follow-up to this one, brought in $141 million. And then Scary Movie 5 only brought in $78 million worldwide. So like, if you adjust all those for the inflation in which the year they came out, that's way over $1 billion. It's insane.
100%.
But Paige, that's your box office. You want to hit us with that scary scale?
Sure. Our scary scale is a scale of 1 to 10 of how scary we found the movie today while watching it. 1 being Ghostbusters, 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd.
I am going to give it a 1 because it's not at all scary. They're not trying to make it scary.
I'll give it a 1 as well.
All right. Well, this week, Paige, you made us watch Scary Movie. What are you going to make us watch as we continue Black Horror Month?
All right, so we've got 2, and they are each movies that I have wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah.
One of them came out in pandemic. One of them came out in the 80s, but they have very similar themes. And I just transparently, Todd and I having a rough time because of the world. So I'm trying to keep things a little light for a bit.
Right. Yeah.
Both of these are fun and light.
Appreciate it.
Sure. One of them is the passion project of an A-lister, and it is bonkers because of it.
Okay. I love A-listers who have been successful off of other people's creativity, getting to spearhead their own and like fund their own thing. And we get to see whether they're the creative genius or not.
Jury's still out. The other is a kind of combination of both Fright Night and Lost Boys, but set in a unique location.
Oh, shit. I like both. Well, okay. Man, I'm so torn right now. Okay.
They're both fun. You cannot go wrong with this choice.
Okay, then I really want to do the A-listers creative passion project.
Yes, we're doing Vampires in Brooklyn.
Oh my God.
In Brooklyn.
Wait,
Eddie Murphy.
Oh my God. The opening line of this movie is bonkers. Okay.
Ahoy, motherfuckers.
Yes. Okay. All right.
But yeah, Eddie Murphy, Angela Bassett from 1995. This was Eddie Murphy's brainchild. He funded a lot of it. He had a lot of oversight over the script. It is a bonkers movie, but I think we're going to have a good time. And I'm going to see if a special guest might want to come and talk to us about it, because I know they also very much enjoy this movie. We'll see if we can make schedules work out, because I know things are crazy with us and life right now.
Yes to all that, though, because that sounds a lot of fun. I cannot wait. Guys, your homework is to watch or revisit Vampire in Brooklyn. I only think I've seen like the first 15 minutes of this movie because I don't remember any of it.
Ahoy, motherfucker! Like, it's so fun.
I very much remember that, though. Yeah, I very much remember that. Anyway, so guys, check out Vampire in Brooklyn and then report back next week for that episode.
Hey, do you have any reviews for us?
I do. This week, I actually am going to read. We did get some Apple reviews, and because they're a little bit more difficult to read, have been neglecting them. So I'm going to read this one, which is our most recent 5-star review from M. Shannon 2. In my mind, it's Miss Elizabeth Shannon, and she lost her first account. So this is her second one. It's M. Shannon 2. And they say, my favorite pod is the title of the review. And then they say, Horror Virgin and Romancing the Pod are my favorite podcasts. And you guys keep me company on my daily commute. I can't watch scary movies, so I love listening to you guys explain them to me. Keep doing what you're doing. Love you guys. And M. Shannon, too, thank you so much for that wonderful 5-star review. I also really do want to read this Spotify comment off of our most recent episode, because believe it or not, the Orphan First Kill episode was one that was one of our most commented on episodes. And I want to read this one from someone whose name I can't pronounce, but I did look up. And they're from Denmark, so it's one of our international listeners, and I apologize.
Okay, great.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to try and say it, but I'm going to butcher it. It's Pernille Bora Birimer, and I'm so sorry. I know I butchered that. Please forgive me. But they said, and I think it'll be funny because I butchered their name, because they're making fun of me saying Estonia. And it says, Orphan First Kill, mastering the art of Estonian murder. But they spelled it. Yeah, anyway. So thank you so much for that. Both 5-star Apple review and Spotify comment. And if you want to have me read one of those or both of those, do that and I'll read it. That's how it works. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast. Some might call it a sister podcast called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady, and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back, and I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. Have an amazing week, guys. Bye. I didn't love large sections of this movie, nerds.